Hello reviewers, welcome to my channel S2T or Science to Technology. Hopefully you guys can hear me and look at me clearly. Audio and video is working. So today's topic would be a small solar scale project that I'm gonna overtake in next coming days. So I'm just waiting for anyone to comment basically yes AV so I can know that audio and video is working. After that we can get started, or at least I can hear the feedback. Video is working. So today's topic would be okay, audio and video seems to be working. So let's get started now. Okay, yeah, that's the focus. So what's the plan? The plan is, hello sir, hold on, the comment came here. Yeah, Singh ji, hello to you. Now here's deal. I originally intended to do basically full off-grid solar for my home, but the problem is my home's power draw is huge. It's big house, it's huge. So consequences like we are looking at least 10 kilowatts. So that itself is not too bad, but problem is that we have to have batteries in order to use it. Because if I did a simple system, that again government will also give a lot of subsidy on that. So that will be basically solar, inverter and grid. Now problem with that in here in my current location is that grid here is not very reliable, nor is very high quality. So those things are not something that I can count on. So I have to add battery. The moment I add battery, it becomes very expensive, like a good car kind of expensive, like very expensive. So I'm trying to, like, this is how I got into investment. The idea is that I will keep instead of, basically I'm doing an invert of a loan. So I'm just like buying Nifty 50s and S&P 500 sections brick by brick, and hopefully in few years I'll have the money, bulk sum money that would be needed to do that. So instead of paying in the future, I'll just pay in the past, and instead of basically interest, I'll get the profit, increase and all that. So that's good and all, but I realized kind of realistically is that it's gonna take a while, like years kind of while. However, recently the summer was brutal. In India, summer is reaching a point where it might be just 50 degrees Celsius. So I do need some shade on my rooftop, especially because my mom and dad live on the top floor. It gets hot, as in like uncomfortable hot. So having any shade, like original idea was that I'm gonna have a shade, but again, that itself will cost a lot of money. So realistically, as of now, with all the constraints that I have, if I want to do something rather than like nothing, the best I can do is use my existing inverter system, like to as a solar system. Now thankfully India is really good in those sort of basically regard, is that I have a basically luminous inverter. From this brand I have an inverter. Now that's a 24-volt system. Now I just recently replaced the battery on those puppies, so they are very expensive. They are around 200 amp hour 12-volt systems. So I have two of those. They are expensive, and I just replaced them 2 years ago, so I'm pretty sure they have more than enough life left into them. And last battery I had from Luminous, it was not that great. The inverter is great, the battery was not. So I replaced it with Excite battery. That's supposed to be much better, and this time, to make sure that I'm not contaminating the battery, I'm buying the water directly from Excite itself. So the water contamination should not be an issue. LXG, welcome to our English channel. Now you came from Hindi channel. We can hear you, that's good. Aliji, that's very good, that's thank you. So the idea is that I have this battery and I already made a very huge investment just 2 years ago, so I do not want to buy a brand new batteries. Consequence, it limits me to 24-volt system. I cannot upgrade to 36 because again, it's a really not good idea to have mismatched batteries. So okay, 24-volt it is. Okay, what can we do now? So there are a lot of companies in India recently that is coming up to take care of this problem. So we went from an era where this was a small add-on. You could add like a 400-watt panel, 800-watt panel, and then you can just have a small charge controller fitting between the inverter and battery. That was a very sloppy implementation. But again, if you already have a system, then you can just do this. Like, it was a good starting system. However, recently my mom visited some of our relatives in upper basically northern parts of India, and they have this sort of system, this next generation system, where you have the solar panel, inverter, batteries and grid. Everything is a complete package. You do not have to do some configuring or something like that. You just buy an inverter, you put batteries in, you put solar panel. It has nothing to do with government. There is no grid tie. It's just a backup inverter that also has solar as a solar generator added to it. Now That's why I started to look into it seriously. Sir, is it possible to make a lot of robots and put it as starships sent to moon and make a moon base with today's technology? In principle, yes. Right now, problem is that we do not know how to handle robotics and lunar dust at the same time. Lunar regolith is a different kind of cruel simply because it's very jagged. There is no air to smooth it out. So particle sizes are brutal. So we do not know how to manage it properly right now. And that will require certain years of experience where you can actually, okay, now I put a motor there, now I put a bearings there, now I put a robotic arm there, and it's gonna last years. Mars is much easier because again, you may be like, Mars is a vacuum. Yeah, it's not pure vacuum. It has carbon dioxide atmosphere. It has enough dust storm, because what does dust storm do? It grinds one to another. So benefit is that particles becomes a bit more gentler, not as gentle as Earth, but gentle enough. While moon is brutal, like it's raw brutal. So having stuff there, we know how to make stuff, machines, all that jazz. That's the issue. That's not an issue. It's just that how the hell you gonna make sure that it actually survives long enough. And in terms of rovers, we have sent surprisingly few rovers to moon, like very few. We do not have that much experience as would be needed to have a basically a robot armada going there. Not yet, not yet. Okay, now coming back to the solar part of it. So that's the new ecology. So the biggest pain point for me is that I have a water pump, a bore wheel and a water pump. If I can run the water pump, my problem would be sorted. Like that will at least make sure that no matter what happens, like sometimes it does happen when your transformer blows up or some serious fault happens, that we get stranded. Now the only issue those time is water pump. Other than that, we good, because again we have huge inverters anyway. So if at that time I can have solar and run the water pump, problem would be sorted. Unfortunately, the basically induction motor jet pump we have, centrifugal jet pump, those puppy are, while the power consumption is not high, so just 1 horsepower, so less than 800 watt, and the inverter that I'm planning to buy is 1600 watts, so it's more than enough. But problem is induction motors have brutal what you call inrush current, meaning you start it, unless the inverter is designed to handle it, inverter is gonna be like, yep, I'm out. So that limited my desire to actually do this. However, I have learned that even without that, it still would be better than nothing. And not to mention, recently government has increased the electricity tariff in my area, so prices are becoming ooh, painful. So in that scenario, having even a little bit of cost reduction would be desirable. So it is something that is becoming more. And on top of that, what to do with motor, I could look into it, where I can get a VFD, variable frequency drive, that basically acts as a soft starter, and it can slowly start some motor on inverter without any issue. If that works out, no problem, like I'm sorted for at least few years from this point onwards. So with that in mind, I'm moving forward with the solar system. According to your research, which solar panel would be best for Indian homes, i.e. value for money? Right now, a lot of people are recommending me Weir solar panels and half-cut solar panels, not bifacial one. Basically, it's not advisable to have panels on the both side, because again, on paper it would work, in real life it rarely anybody finds it desirable, and you have to make sure it's always clean on the back side. It's like, yeah, that's not happening. So it's one of those things. On paper it makes sense to have both side panel. It in real life it's like, nah. So for me, I'm looking half cut. Why half cut? Half cut is really tolerant to shading, meaning if you have a tree branches shading some cells, it does not go to zero. Like poly panels, that's their weakness. It's like they do not tolerate partial shading. And again, you may be like, okay, I do not have any tree or building or anything that is casting a shadow. Issue is that clouds are a thing. They do occur. So you can literally lose all of the power just because it was a mildly cloudy day. So you have to understand that we have to compensate for what we are exposed to in real life. That's why looking for it as of now. Now my core target was I do realize India is hot country, meaning the panel rating is meaningless. So panel says 500 watt, that's hopes and dreams. Because again, that 500 watt is at 25 degrees Celsius. That's not real life. In India, real life would be like 50 degrees Celsius on the morning. And by the time like it reaches 70, 75 degrees Celsius would be easily achievable. So looking into realistic world, I'm expecting half of the power. Good day, expecting 70% of the power. Bad days, 50% of the power. So I realized I need large solar farm, like lot of panels to have some useful energy. Now, so right now, basically I printed it out. So the model that I'm looking into, Solar Verter Pro 2K VA. Now while Luminous, I do have Luminous inverter, and I have talked with people who have worked with the solar industry. All of them are very clear on this. It's like they has really good service center. Not It's one of those things that you can count on, and since it's a critical system, I do want to count on it. So given with that reality, that is a good system. And not to mention people who have complained about the inverter, most of the complaints are with on-grid system. Now on-grid inverters in India do not last, simply because based on your location where you are situated, you could have dirty grid. Like I have a dirty grid, many times neutral become floating, so I could literally get 400 volt, I could get hundreds of volt in neutral. That does happen. So if that is happening, yeah, it's gonna fry basically any basic inverter. So that inverter has to be, if it's designed to work with grid, it has to design to work with Indian grid. So that's not happening, and I do not think Luminous had did a very good job at that Indian grid part. So the grid tie inverters are not working. Their backup inverters, that's like, bro, I got this, I have it. So talking from experience, I got this. Experience and all that is very good. So looking into that part, 2K, they're saying it's a model is 2 kilowatt capacity, 24 volt. Yeah, so they're saying nominal output current is 7 amps, 7.5 amps. That should be more than sufficient. So what I'm expecting is that hopefully, if it works out the way I'm expecting, again, I did build a very energy efficient computer for this exact reason, is that you know, the inverter, the computer should not drain too much power, and my AC, it could run on the inverter. People have done testing 1.5 ton AC running on the inverter. Inverter can take care of the load, and once the inverter, since it's an inverter based AC, yes, the basically AC compressor is not PWM only. It has a half duty cycle. So once it cools down the room, it chills. It basically goes from 1500 watts of power draw, it goes to 800 if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, I'll just look into what's the nameplate of it, my inverter. I just had that data. Hold up. Wait a minute. So the idea is that utilizing that half running capacity, meaning that that's generally used only at the starting, or like if the room heats up too much, it's gonna generally runs on that full load system. So we generally have this sort of hold up. Yeah, this sort of energy rating and all that. So in that, it's quite clear the full power and half power would be mentioned here. They have rated the based on COP. So it's like a cooling capacity 100% is 5 kilowatt, cooling capacity 50% is 2.5 kilowatt. I'm like, brah, that's not useful. I wanted that like, you know, amps rating. Cooling current, yeah, it does say 7 amps maximum. Oh yeah, cooling capacity, no. Cooling input power is 1500 watts. So basically it's gonna reach almost maximum of the inverter when it's going all out, and when it's at half power, it will be half of that. So basically, if I start the AC on line current and it's running on that, then it can easily go to inverter without any issue. Hopefully, that's my hope for it. And again, we're gonna figure things out. We're gonna know more information once I actually do it. Again, it's even for my jet. Most common advice is very simple. Everybody who's working in this is just buy a huge system, meaning basically 5 kV or even more. Now that is something that I cannot afford as of now. Again, if I could have afforded that, I directly would have done whole house solar, but that's way too expensive as of now. So when I was in India, I was thinking of installing small solar panel, but in Punjab they don't need to pay below 600 units. That's interesting. Are you in agriculture? If you are in agriculture sector, I think then the government gives you that subsidy of 600 units of electricity. So I could see that. I could see that working out. So yeah, so in terms of voltage, and again, higher the kV you get, generally they get higher in voltage, and batteries are expensive. And I'm talking lead acid battery, let alone lithium ion. Those things are like, ooh. And again, these things are not even rated for lithium ion. So that's, realistically speaking, I need a bonkersly large amount of capital to get this done. So but again, I realize that like if I keep waiting, it would be a, like, you know, detriment at this point in time. So to make like, you know, my life easier, no, it's for all people. That's interesting. I'm genuinely shocked, like giving a state level subsidy on 600 units of energy for everyone. That's like, damn. Huh. I did not knew that. I did not knew that. Let me be very clear, I did not knew that. I did not knew that. So okay. So all things considered, it's Aam Aadmi Party. Oh, okay. Yeah, that explains it. that explains it. That explains it. Yeah. So where I was, yeah. So idea is that if I can have, oh, another thing is that all these inverters, there are a lot of inverter available for 24 volt, but not all of them have the same solar input capacity. Some have very few little input capacity, because Lifeguard was another brand that a lot of people recommended as a good brand. Lifeguard, I think. Sorry, Lifeguard, Livguard. I don't know. Don't ask me why they have this sort of weird name. Livguard also has a 24 volt system. Again, I have already battery. I cannot change that part, and it has 3 years warranty compared to 2 year warranty. That's also good. And again, people have good things up to say about their service. It's just that it's 1500 VA. I do need bit more. So 2000 VA versus 1500 VA, that's not even a competition. And on top of that, I could live with that limited VA. I cannot live with the voltage limitation it has on the solar panel. So that's an issue. Make a video on temperature increase and how to tackle it going at God level or God level. Yeah, I'll come to that. I'll come to that. So another thing was that inverter that I was looking into, solar inverter, they were what you call PWM inverters. Huh. That's lol. Yeah. Solar solution. You do want maximum power point tracking rather than pulse width modulation. Pulse width modulation tries to get the power out of it, while you have maximum power point tracking that controls the amp. So while it's doing amp, it's basically oscillating. It's slowly changing up and down. Again, how does it does that? That's different on different controller. The idea is that you move the amp and you monitor the voltage. So based on that, you always try to move in a direction where you are getting the most amount of amps out of the most voltage. Because again, if you draw too much power, voltage will collapse and you will not get any power. So you do not want to drain too much. So voltage drop is always monitored. So based on that, there is a throttle valve in MPPT. So benefit of MPPT is that you should get at least 10% more to 30% more power on normal panels. So panel would be same. Let's say I have 2 kW of panels. How much energy is actually going into my inverter? That directly depends on the charge controller. If it's a PWM charge controller, it's not gonna give a lot of power. But MPPT is gonna be like optimizing all the time. It's gonna be like optimizing, so it should give a bit more oomph. 10% is minimum expected more, and 20% on a very good optimized system. So that's what it is. Sorry for going for. Have you heard news breakthrough in hypersonic engine in University of Central Florida? No, the hypersonic engine I'm not that much interested into it, simply because it's a weapons technology. It's a weapon system. It's like extra button where it's like it's one of those things like, why don't we have Concorde? Yeah, it's too expensive. It's like why the heck government is like, there are two companies, right? Dark Horse, if I'm not mistaken, is one of them that is making a hypersonic test jet. Here's the deal. Even they know it that it's never gonna be a passenger system. And then you will like look into the who is the investor. It's like US Air Force, like basically weapons contractors. And I'm like, bro, you are just developing a hypersonic engine for cruise missile for cheap. That's all they are doing. Like they will say, of course, like we are looking at passenger plane that is that far. I'm like, nah, no. So it's one of those. That's why like hypersonics are not that interesting. And be mindful, like from a weapons point of view, we already have ICBMs. ICBMs are much faster and they have targeting capacity. Meaning it's not just like, oh, shui, doo. It's not that. Like I have no idea why the heck people think that it's less. We crossed that era long ago. Like 1980s long ago, we crossed it. Now you have a system that moves in itself. It's a guided ammunition. So you are talking about something that is re-entering the atmosphere at orbital velocity while readjusting itself. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Kinzhal is just an upper stage of such an ICBM. It's just like they took an ICBM, heated the booster, and it's like, tweet. So that's the point. Can you explain units? Can you explain power units for non-Indians? As in, I do not get it. Like, what sort of power we are talking about? Kilowatt hour? As in, do you want to understand that? Basically, if you are drawing 1 kilowatt of power, as in 1000 watts for 1 hour, that's 1 unit. So it has two variable. And again, it becomes a complete unit. It's almost like how you have energy is represented as watt. Right? Energy, like you cannot just say voltage, does not mean anything. You cannot say amps, does not mean anything. Say both of them together, now it means something, right? Like you can say, hey, 1000 volts at 1 amp, or you can say 500 volts at 50 amps. That's completely different. So watts allows us to contextualize it, like how much we are talking about. Same way, watt hour allows us to contextualize is how much oomph we are talking about. Because again, 10 kilowatt of energy draw, again, that's a common thing for induction pumps. But again, it's a surge. It's not like that's how much energy is going to continuously draw. So even if you have like, let's say, what you call energy unit rating, you can look into it. Um, Focus, yeah. So you can have energy ratings looking into it, and these things will uh, yeah, and these things will give you an idea how much units your AC is supposed to consume. So in case of my scenario, ideal scenario, let that be very clear, it's not real, it's ideal scenario. It's 931 units of energy per year. Ooh, it's excessive. Almost thousands units are consuming just for this puppy. So yeah, if I can even reduce its load, that would be a very significant savings on my budget. Or at least I know for a fact that it will remove, again, my computer is literally running on inverter because power is not very reliable. So instead of charging batteries directly on grid, we will charge based on solar. And while I'm running at the daytime, I do not have to worry about depleting the battery because I'm running on the solar at that time. So again, energy never goes backwards. Let that be very clear. That's the off-grid part of it. It does not sell the energy. It does not run the meters in reverse. It's just like it will let the battery and it will turn off if you do not have a draw on it. So it will be, again, once I get it, once I have the monitoring system into it, then I'll see like what's what. Like if it's like, hey, most of the time it's idling, it could be wasteful. So then I'll like, yeah, let's try to run the AC on it. Okay, we'll see. We'll see. These things will be interesting to find out. Yeah, can you explain it for non-Indians? I'm talking about 600. Oh, 600 for everyone. 600 meaning 600 kilowatt hours. That's one unit. So 600 of those units free for all. So it's one of those things. That's what we are talking about. Basically, unit of electricity, right? That's how electric bills are measured. So 600 units simply means 600 of them are free for you. Your bill will start counting. It will go from 0, 1 to 10, 100,000 as it will go. So basically, as long as it goes to 0, 600 or below 600 is free. It's a very destructive policy, but it is what it is. Now, another aspect is that whenever you are dealing with basically grid off-grid inverters, you also have to look into how far your equipment is. Meaning, in my case, I'm very unlucky because my garage is in this direction and my roof is in this direction, and they are very far apart, and then like almost 3 floor apart. So to make sure that energy can be transferred from basically solar panel on the roof to the inverter on the ground, I have to use high voltage, basically as high voltage as possible. Meaning if I have to choose 24 volt or 50 volt, I have to choose 50 volt, again because of the distance. It's not optional for me. Or I have to use super thick cable, but looking at the price of the cable, I'm like, yeah, I have to go with higher voltage. So this LiveGuard system that also has similar kind of VA rating, 2000 VA rating, 24 volt system, pure sine wave, that's good, but technology is not good. It's PWM. So a maximum solar power panel is 1.8 kilowatt. Again, that's a bit lower than what we are expecting here. But it's a maximum input voltage or VOC. Basically, if you take multimeter directly touching to the solar panel without any load, let that be very clear. VOC simply means without any load. So you touch it, then it's like 50 volt only. Compare this to what I'm planning to buy. This puppy can go up to yeah, solar input voltage, open contacts. Open contact goes up to 100 volt, almost double of that puppy. So under load, that voltage range drops to 40. In here, under load drops to 85. So that means I can actually put basically a lot of panels in series. So that gives me the advantage of actually having the oomph needed to pump enough energy through thin cables. Like again, the cable would be thick, but I cannot have like very thick cable. Like again, I did wanted to go to shop today to figure out the pricing of these things, but unfortunately, it has to wait till Tuesday. So all these things are coming into focus now. The only thing that hurts me is like it's just that a frustrating part of the motor. Other than that, everything else is like I'm okay with it. It's like, okay, let's just do this. And again, it's one thing to study it, guess it, and all that. Another to actually just do it. And I think I learn far more about the solar than actually doing it, rather than just studying it, waiting for money to pile up and then buy something that I might regret. So this system is a really good way of figuring things out. So in terms of sine wave, again, nowadays a sine wave is a common thing. Can we have temperature control homes in India like we have in West, as we just always in both summer and winter? See, doing that is not the hard part. Doing that cost effectively is the hard part. Basically, in India, we have two constraints. First constraint is the outside is really freaking hot. So our ACs have to be ludicrously powerful. And the reason why heating is such an important thing for Westerners is that many Western countries gets cold. Like cold. They are not getting like, Indian cold. Like same way, their summer is not Indian summer, but our winter is not their winter. So they know how cold it gets. Meaning their house, if not heating actively, it could reach a point where a person can go to sleep but never wake up. So it's same for us, but it's in summer. So not in night, but in daytime we could like poof out of existence. That could happen. Did you consult any solar companies regarding this? Yeah. Solar company, no, company, I'm gonna go, like that was my plan. We are solar panel company, I'm looking into them. That was the plan, to get them spec out the system and figure all those things, and then we're gonna go from there. Again, my expectation is like this puppy can scale up to almost 2.5 kilowatt. So even if I'm getting only 50% of the power rated of the solar panel, that is a lot. That is more than 1 unit energy per hour. So even if I'm getting that much, like let's say 5 or 6 hours a day in India, that could happen. That is enough where my computer's bill could be removed from the system. So I could see it working out. I could actually see it working out. So it's one of those things. So they are doing everything free, no toll tax, women need to papers, medical also free. I'm gonna sure they will get the tax. Yeah, see, that part has happened. Like that's the past tense, my man. Like it's time to let it go, because that's past tense. It has happened. You can't fight it. You can't waste your energy on it. It's just like, yeah, it is what it is. You just let it go. Again, you let it go not because it's a right thing to do. You let it go because you deserve peace. You want peace in your life. Trust me, the most priceless thing you can have is peace. Everything else is secondary. You can have boatload of money and be miserable, and have very little money and be peaceful. Trust me, choose peace. Always choose peace. Thou shall always choose peace. Yeah. Explore further. Okay, yeah. Now I'm looking at the another system, that is LiveGuard 2200. My God, these companies genuinely do not know how to make a website. Like I'm looking into it, the model number, and then there is the chart below it, right? It has all the models. It does not have the model that is the page is on. Who the heck came up with this? Like genuinely, it's like LSOG2200M, and the starting model is 3048. I'm like sometimes it's like, what were they thinking? Like, did anybody thought through that people may want to see the model that you are showing? This is ironic. Ironic. Oh, I downloaded the manual and that also has the same issue. Yeah. Nah. Nah. Wouldn't Luminous be better? Yeah, I'm looking into Luminous. In terms of solar panel, if you may be saying. No, again, right now, this is the idea. Right now, looking into all the available option, I'm choosing the Luminous basically inverter. The reason why I'm not doubtful on the Luminous is simply because it's not grid tie. Grid tie inverters do not last in India, and again, a lot of people have complained about Luminous grid tie inverters. This is not a grid tie, so I have some faith that it's gonna work, given the fact that I already have an inverter that is running on power vent. So that's a running one. We are running on that inverter. So I do have some faith that it could work. That part is taken care of. But the solar panel part, VR company is a dedicated company dedicated for solar, and they make their own panels in India. So they have far what you call, far more quality control, I would say, on the solar panel. I have not seen bad things or good things about Luminous. Luminous is like, yeah, it is what it is. So again, we'll do the spec out things, have people coming in there, and again, if there is a very giant price difference between Luminous and what you call VR system, of course, I'll see what I can do. But again, this is what I'm doing around. This is how we figure things out. My battery is locked. Okay, 24 volt it is. So there is this MPPT off-grid inverter. Oh my God, I really need to share this photos with you guys. This will be awesome. Let me just grant me a few seconds. Grant me a few seconds here. Come on. Come on. You don't have to, it's just you're gonna have fun with it. You're gonna have fun with it. LiveGuard is the brand name, is the LiveGuard. That second company that people are recommending me. So LiveGuard, we go into it. So yeah, you can see it says 3 years warranty, and here the warranty is 2 years. Same page. What the hell? Same page. What the hell? Yeah, I do not trust this company. just because of that. Like, I do not trust this company. Yeah. I live in Europe where the winters are bitter cold, minus 30 degrees Celsius sometimes. Do you think high-end solar panels can last at least 10 years here? Yeah, you easily, easily. Like cold temperature is not an issue as long as you do not have too much fluctuation, meaning days become very hot and winter is very cold. That if that is not happening, you should be fine. And the only issue you would have is that snow piling up on top of it. That's an issue. But actually, you're gonna get most energy out of it, meaning how much efficiency you're gonna have per panel is gonna be higher than what we're gonna get. Because while we do get high solar flux, we get very high temperature with it. It's a package deal. You get a lot of solar flux, but you also get high temperature. Look into the panels. Panels are rated for 25 degrees Celsius. Now, like, doesn't that mean lower is worse? No, it improves. Again, it does not mean it becomes a superconductor, but it simply means a lower temperature is not as big of a deal as you would think. Again, structurally it is. They have to make sure the plastic does not crack. They have to make sure the glass can handle it, snowfall can handle it. Those are an issue. But other than that, electrically speaking, you're good, you're solid. Yeah, you can easily buy panels from your local brand that should local as in like the people who have spec'd it for those environments that can easily last 25 years. Like that's a doable thing that you should be able to get it done. Have you seen any effect on the channel after you change the video upload format? No, no. See, right now I have just let the steering wheel go off the channel because it's just not working. Okay, I'm like too stressed out, too frustrated, too messed up to actually focus on anything. So I'm like just letting go. Right now, my core focus is slowly building this part up. The fume extractor hardware is built. Now I'm building the electronics part of it. And again, one amazing individual has basically come forward and helped me with other stuff, so it's very good. Did you vote today? Not today, recently, but not today, recently. So he is helping me with PCB development of the controller IC. And again, I have also tried buying from DigiKey and Mouser. Mouser has it's so difficult, like I'm not able to pay the money from my bank wire transfer. I cannot do, and I do not have a credit card. So yeah, it's common for Indians to not have credit card. And I looked into DigiKey. They do have an account that has the IFC code, IFSC code that allows Indian banks to transfer money and back and forth without any issue. It did work, but I put basically model numbers in remark for my sake. Turns out they did not accept that. They are like, okay, you cannot write something like that. They should write this model order code in order to make sure. Again, I have done that today. Let's see whether the money bounces back or not. So hopefully if things work out, I should be able to buy high quality electronics product, because again, the motor controller, originally my plan was to use ESP30 directly to control the fan and PWM signal and tachometer signal. While PWM is easy as pie, tachometer signal is very difficult. I have learned a lot of things, like you watch any video that people are talking about, generally they're gonna use what we call interrupts. The signal goes from top to bottom. They use interrupts. Now interrupts is not a good idea for programming. Okay, it can be done, it is done, that's why it's there. It's just that it's a very pro level thing. Like you have to be very polished, very robust in order to trust on that. So I looked into it and I found out that could not be the way how computers work. Like that cannot be true, where you have like 15-16 fans and all of them are sending tachometers and CPUs is like okay, interrupt. That did not make sense to me. Looking deeper into it, thankfully I found out that you can use what we call pulse counter. That's how companies are doing it. Like that's how hardwares are doing it. So I'm buying a dedicated IC that is built for that. Pulse counting and PWM. It's basically fan control IC. So I have ordered for it. Let's see how many days it takes to come out. Right now I'm building a dev board with a friend who is helping me a lot on this. So right now that's my focus. Channel, I have just like, it's so out of my hand that I'm like just okay, it's just out of my hand. Let me focus on things. Let me sort my life, have something good going on in my life. Then I'll figure out what to do with my channel. It is my sole income, but I'll figure something out. And this won't be the first time. I had a job, the company disappeared. So I'll be fine. Hopefully, knock on wood. I will be fine. Did you which type of solar panel you will be going for? Most likely I'll go for bi-cut panel, not bifacial. I do not want both side. I want cut panels. Cut panels are very resistant to shading. I could have partial shading from some of the buildings nearby, or trees, or not trees. I do not think, like if I put on top floor, I do not see any tree there, but I could expect things like clouds and all that to cause an issue. So for that reason, I will look into bifacial panels. And again, I will learn more through it. Like once I actually go to a shop with the intent to actually buy, I will learn far more than just ideal researching and all that. So that's my core of focus there. Uh, I saw someone using AC exhaust to dry cloth. Is there any use case of hot AC exhaust here? Yeah. Again, in Western countries, they use what you call clothes dryer. It's a thing. It's a thing for them. They do not have the common concept of like, again, in the central area, centralizing, like what you call metropolitan, where people have like, they have a washing machine and they have a dryer. It's a thing for them. Like dryer is a thing, not just like, okay, put the cloth on a cloth drying, what you call wire. It's not a thing for them. Again, rural area they have, but like in city area, it's not. And many people just have what you call uh, a machine that is dryer. Only recently, some companies started to make a heat pump one, where I'm like, wow, it took you this long. It took you this long to realize, hey, what if we just use a heat pump? I'm like, wow, wow. It took them this long. Yeah, it's a very good use case scenario. Again, I genuinely do not get it why hotels are not going all in on heat pumps, especially in India. Imagine like the amount of things you can do. Imagine you are like, okay, again, they have a requirement of very serious laundry. They're like, okay, you need hot water for the laundry and you need hot air to dry the goddamn laundry. It's like, what if you're an AC? Double benefit. So, yeah. In winter, the problem is only few hours of sun and a lot of clouds. Yeah, that's a issue. That's a different. That's a power generation issue. But modern panels should give you still enough. Should give you enough. Should give you enough. In off grid, I don't think battery will last long. Again, I'll test it and then I'll know. And again, it's not pure off grid where it's like it's not there. Again, you need a large battery bank for that. The friend of mine who is doing it locally, who's guiding me through this, his system is much bigger. His system is 10 kilowatt and the battery bank is huge. Huge. It's like almost 200 volt DC. It's freaking huge. So of course, his system will run like all day long without any issue. Mine system is very small. Mine system is 200 amp hour. Again, that's the nameplate capacity. So let's assume 150 amp hour multiplied by 24 volt. Yeah, power came. So in that reality, it's like I think winter days are too short. Yeah, yeah, you're gonna have an issue in again not in India, but in basically northern hemisphere. Basically, people who are living closer to poles, they will have issue. We are very close to equator, so that's not too big of an issue for us. So it's one of those things. Again, since I put it out, there also has a rating for it, like what sort of lead acid battery you have. You could have tubular battery, you could have SMF battery, you can have flat plate battery. So if you select the tubular switch, it will give you 14 amps of charging current. If you switch SMF, I do not know which it is, that will give you 17 amps. If it's flat plate, it will give you 20 amps. I'm like, damn. So those options are available. Boost, absorption, float, that's the charging status. I'll get single phase output out of it. That is good. That is good. Single phase output. And again, to give you a context how unstable our grid is that we're supposed to get 220 volts. Okay, that's good. 220 volts. And again, every country has 5% plus and minus tolerance requirement. It's like you cannot have exactly precisely that much. So okay, that's good. Here's the, if I set my inverter, this solar inverter that I'm planning to buy, into regulated UPS mode, the voltage range in that scenario is 180 volt to 260 volts. And again, I cannot set it at that. My current inverter has the same switch. I cannot set it at that because again, voltage comes up too low and too high up. So at lower end, it drops to 110 volt, meaning I can directly run it in USA, and it goes up to 280 volts. Although I can't run it in USA because it has 60 hertz, so that might fry the transformer. It's 50 hertz transformer, so it's one of those things. Again, a lot of learning to be had. So I'm really looking forward to it. Painful, expensive, but something better than nothing. In Canada, European homes are made in heart shape, so snow is not an issue. As much bigger issue with my neighbors that Tesla solar tiles. That's a good. That's a good thing. Solar panel plus equal to, electricity plus shade. Yeah, that's my requirement, and that's another thing. Again, my since my mom primarily lives on the upper floor, and in summer that heats up too much. Last few days were brutal. So having even a small surface area, just like 2 kilowatt of surface area, that will be better than nothing. Right now, like my original plan was to have a shade, then put solar on top. Then I thought, okay, let's just put the shade. Shade itself is so expensive. I'm like, okay, let's just put solar there. Let me just do something that can be done today, then we'll worry about other things later. As of now, that's as of now kind of data set. So yeah, this is what we are planning to do. A lot of things to sort out. Let me drink some water. Yeah, sorry about that. Man needed some water. There was a recent rocket news for Indian space nerds, simply because Agniban, basically another small satellite launch provider, but they are using liquid engine. They had a suborbital launch test. Now they are very stressed about it because originally they were doing like a lot of PR around it, like a lot of communication, discussion, videos, live streams. They did one live stream, they scrubbed it because again the launch was cancelled, scrubbed. They did it again, it was scrubbed again. Third time they did it, but this time there was no live stream. It happened almost stealthily, like there is no we have we too have same voltage fluctuation issue, different voltage in different phases. Yeah, so if you have three-phase electricity and you have different phases, that will be a very bad thing. This is the weakest link we have in case of grid tie inverter. Again, the my friend who is trying to get like a 10 kWh system done, his whole plan is get the on-grid system just so you can get the subsidy. And the moment that is done, like the subsidy money comes in and it's like all things sorted, disconnected. It's like disconnected. Only connect when it's completely discharged. Do not even connect it. I was one at 110 volts, another at 220 volts. Yeesh, that's bad. That's bad. Yeah, that's one of those things. I do experience that a lot, so I know. I actually know I do experience that a lot. So yeah, so that's why. Again, we would want to move to what we call transformerless inverters. But again, in India, they are not very successful simply because they blow up when we have bad neutral. So yeah, our neutral ends up getting into high voltage, as in like, 100 volt, 200 volts. So yeah, it's a very difficult situation for us. It's like we want awesome things. It's just that our grid is not quality enough. Like grid is there, power is there. Again, I'm in electricity, but like the quality is not that good there. That's a now be mindful. That's a different for different states. For example, all my relatives living in Gujarat, they are just chilling. They are just like Tokyo drifting. They see me rolling, kind of scenario. They have really good grid. Uptime is almost 100%. It's like almost living in a different place. Like they do not even have inverter shops. I was shocked in India that I'm roaming the streets and there was no inverter shops. How the heck that's possible? But it's like, so do a live stream on next Starship launch. Yes, that will be done, but it will be done on my Hindi channel. Unfortunately, I do not think there is a way of simultaneously streaming on two channels. And even if I did, that problem would be it will piss off all the viewers of this channel simply because it will be in Hindi. So I do have to take a lose on that, but I will do a live stream of that, and I'll try to do my best. If I can time it right, just I'll make a video just after that about the live stream, recapping the events in English. So for people in this channel, they can also have some quick takes if they so desire to have it. Yeah. So that company did a suborbital launch. Now launch went successful, as that's what I'm getting. But again, the tight-lipped nature of it is giving me a feeling that they were maybe too stressed, because again, anytime you are taking a rocket tank that you are filling cryogenics in and pulling the cryogenics out, that is depleting the life. And the tanks are very what you call thin margin devices, meaning they can only be fueled and defueled few times, 7 times or 8 times. It's not something like a main tank of a cryogenic vessel where you can just like, okay, I can load it, unload it. It's not made for that. Why not? Again, you can make it, we do make it. It's just very, very heavy to do so. Yeah. In Industrial Expo, many companies, Adani, Solar Square, etc., we are providing only bifacial and monoprec panels. I think only panels are poly panels are phased out. Half cut panels are for niche market. Again, we'll see. See, I can talk all day long about this, but unless I actually go to a shop, it's like, bro, give me a system. I will not know what is the quote unquote ground reality of things. So I need to go through this phase. Only then I'll figure out what's happening. Because again, India is a huge country, and again, markets are different. So a commercial market would be completely different from just people who are building solar farm. It would be completely different from a residential market. So you have to go through this sort of scenario where you understand what the hell is happening. It's one of those things. You have to understand what's happening. So. So we'll see how things unfold. So right now there was a decision that I have to make between basically Livguard, who named it, Livguard, and basically Luminous. But primary reason for choosing Luminous is simply because A, they have a better web page. B, their solar is much bigger. Like the amount of solar energy they can accept is much, much, much higher. So I'm going YOLO on the solar part of it. So, and again, I do need a solar. They do not even have a manual download for it. It's like, what the hell am I to do? That's really frustrating. Uh, it's a really weird scenario. Can we have batteries with grid tie? Yeah, that's called hybrid. That's called hybrid. So there are three types. Backup type that I am getting. You have on grid. You do not need battery. Grid acts as a battery for you, and the meter runs in reverse, and then it runs in positive at night time. So if done properly, you will have zero bill. If again bad things happen, you still have grid connection. That's what we call grid tie. Government gives subsidy on that. Why? Because again, you are selling power during the peak demand time. So not peak demand time, bit offset is there, but they're getting electricity. That's why they're giving you subsidy. Then you have hybrid. Now hybrid is somebody knowing that India does not have an absolutely stable grid. Everything else is fine, the grid is just not on all the time. And if you, let's say your power cut happens during daytime while your solar panel is making energy, you are stuck because it has to be off. It cannot send power back to the grid. It has to be what you call safe, because again, if you send a power, 220 volt will become 11 kV going through the transformer works with both way. It's not a selective device, it works both ways. So you can send 220 volt one in, and other side would be basically 11 kV. That would be lethal to linemen. So for that reason they have to they have to be very mindful. So grid ties and hybrid is the solution for that. Hybrid is very simple. It's like, hey, we understand this. So, and again, nowadays, because we are putting way too much solar, even government do not want you to just pump as much solar unless you are a solar farm. At that point they treat you differently. But like if you're a household, they're like to just use the power. So idea is that you take the power from the solar panels, charge the battery, run as much load as you can. Then you, if you have access, then you dump it. The idea is you're supposed to have battery bank big enough where you do not need to dump power into the grid. So, and again, you're supposed to run all your loads during the daytime, so no load on the grid, and you have battery to run you over the night. That's the ideal scenario. That's hybrid. So again, you can buy a hybrid system. Again, as my friend is gonna do that, but he's gonna turn off the hybrid part. How can you turn it off? Disconnect the line. The reason for that is like that's the easiest way to make sure that you have very long life inverter in India. It's like primary reason of inverter failure is like ugly electricity. So you remove the ugly electricity by disconnecting it. You have a battery, you have a solar panel. Both should give you more than enough oomph to take care of most of the scenarios. In some odd days that happen where you do not have power, now you have a fail safe. So that's what they're gonna do. I read somewhere that it should be like that. We can have batteries with grid tie. Yeah, that's hybrid. That's what it was. There are three types: off grid, hybrid, and line interactor. On grid. So that's why a Windows BitLocker can be cracked by Indian police. Trust me, every encryption can be cracked. Question is how easy it is or how much time it takes. Ideal encryption would be so brutal that like you can crack it. It's just that by the time you extract all the data through the encryption, it would have messed up your hard drive itself. So it can be. Can we drive car on seaweed biofuel? Biofuel is fuel. It's fuel, like exact fuel, diesel. So anything that you can do on diesel, like run jet engines on it, or run car on it, run trucks on it, you can do on seaweed biofuel. There is no, like, it's not special. And if you are not getting the right properties, that means you are messing up the filtering stage, filtering and manufacturing. Basically, if you do those parts right, the output is no different than any other fuel recover from any oil well. Nothing is different. Now, yes, there will be very low sulfur content, but that's a desirable thing. Instead of spending money on filtering that out, you can just like, hey, very low sulfur. That's the only difference. Other than that, nothing much. I'm working on a project where I need a control electric valve and collect the info on the sensor like temperature, pressure. What Arduino is good or any suggestion? Yeah, I would not recommend Arduino. Arduino is very expensive for individual users. It would be much better for you to go into like ESP32S3. It would be much better because again, you can dump energy directly, dump data directly into over Wi-Fi, so you can run a system analysis there. SD cards also, and again, because it's much faster, you can do much more oomfish thing with it. Much basically, you can run far heavier loads, So yeah, like again, I did achieve that. The fact, as you can see, like I have pigtails of 4 fan controllers. I did manage to, like you can see, I don't know how well you can see, but you can see like all the 4 wires that are going there, all of them are going onto pulse counter. ESP32S3 has 8 pulse counter, so I can should be able to monitor 8 fans without any issue. Did I manage to do that? Yes. 4, of course, I have tested with 4. So 4 fans I could easily monitor, no interrupt. There was not even a single line of interrupt code in my system. It's like tick, tick, tick. So how does it work? Pulse counter keeps counting it, and when the program reaches to that line, it's like that's the token. And it's like starts counting, counting, counting. That's the token. Counting, 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 token. So computer can use its own clock rather than like interrupt, interrupt. So that's far more stable way of doing it, and I reached that point. Again, I did not reach it. ChatGPT reached it, but it does work. So things are looking interesting there. So that's it. Do any company in India makes a ITES system? Oh, ICE energy thermal storage system. Yeah, I've not seen it. I'm genuinely shocked in terms of ICE. Like India is not jumping headfirst into that. I'm like, genuinely shocked. Like, should I make it? Again, I'm poor, so it's difficult. But damn, only if I had money. But again, once I fulfill this part, then I'll look into it. What can I do about that? But it's a good product. Like it's a desirable product for us. So yeah, it's college product also so called CLLG found must be robust, easy to repair. I don't have an idea. I do not get it. Like CLLG. Please provide some context, Prashad. Ji, please provide some context. I do not have context for what you're talking about exactly. See, now there is an ugly part of this things are happening is that we are reaching a point where these devices may not work any longer because if air temperature keeps rising, let's say it reaches 45 degrees Celsius, we are almost at the operating temperature of it. Meaning if next few years temperature rises 50 degrees Celsius, I could see a point where inverter just simply says, nope. Inverter just like, nope. Like I ain't working and I can't run fan on it because air itself is hot. So yeah, that's a big. So we really need to get our shit together and get a SkyCool panel mass manufactured now. So college project, and I'll get funds for it. It's a college project, so can I get? Must be robust and easy to repair. I don't have any idea. Oh, my man. Yeah. See, then especially go on ESP32. It has much more capability, and again, you want numbers out of it, right? So having a feedback loop where you can show this is the tracked data out of it, it's far more desirable. Trust me, trust me, trust me. It must be robust. Yeah. You can get ESP32 as a robust system, easy to repair. Again, unless you are frying a lot of them, and again, do not buy one of them. I did learn the hard way. I had one of it here. It's like I did fry that part. So next time I made a promise, like never buy one of anything, just like buy a few of them. So now I have two of them, working two of them. So that's the whole idea. Yeah. I would always recommend ESP32 over Arduino now, especially because once you actually start to build it and it starts to actually work, you may think, what if I add this? And you really do not want to be in like scenarios like, oh, it can't actually compute. So yeah, it's one of those things. Do you need a TTT college project? I'll get funds for it. Yeah. And again, cost wise, it's not that different. You can get it for like 600 to 500 rupees, same ish kind of price as like Arduino. So it's not very big difference. Which type of encryption is too hard to crack? Give me some more idea to protect my personal data from police. Yeah, good luck with that. See, encryption is like a cat and mouse scenario. If you are, let's say, hacker level 10 and police has a hacker level 15, you're gonna lose. So it's the same point. So we recently painted our roof with white damp. It really works. Yeah, but again, problem is white paint that you are putting on. That's not reflective. That's basically scattering kind of paint, where it's like, okay, I'm not gonna let sun heat, but it's not cooling. It's not gonna get cooler than subambient. All it's gonna do is stop heating, overheating. But the reason why I want below subambient is so it becomes a heat soak. Basically, it soaks up your heat, dumps it into the outer space. Again, very little amount of heat. You are looking at 10 watts of heat per meter square. So it's not a lot. 10 to 15 to 20. That's the range I have seen. So that's not a lot of heat. But here's it. That's 24 into 7. So you can constantly dump. So let's say a roof that is 1000 square meter, not 1000 square meter, that's a kilometer. Sorry, 100, 10. Okay, let's just say 10. So you could literally have 200 watts of heat being removed constantly, 24 into 7. Sun is not putting in and you are constantly dumping the heat out. That's the core difference between any white paint or any aerogel insulation. Insulation is awesome, but insulation is a two-way street, meaning all the electrical energy that is coming in my house is turned into heat. If I insulate my house, that's awesome during the summer, daytime of summer, but it's brutal at the night. Why? Because now my heat that wants to go out is trapped. That's why I'm so focused on SkyCool panel, not anything else. Like it has to be the SkyCool panel, only that will work. Other things flat out not work. Flat out will not work. So yeah, that's the thing we are talking about. Yeah, so I talked about the solar panels, I have talked about the system, and I would urge all of you to please remind me that in 3 days time that we're gonna have a Starship launch. So space has decided to launch date. Yes, it's 3 days from now. Again, assuming no shift happens, you should get it for what you call. It should happen into the solar panel works most efficiently at 25. We built some kind of filter above solar panel that can reduce temperature 10 to 15 that would increase efficiency. Yeah, how will you make that magic? Think about it. Like you're talking about a magic that magically does magical thing. Now, fun fact: when I was in Mumbai's scale conference, I did cover this video. It's in my video. They are talking about making a panel, basically a nano coating for solar panels that makes it far more dust resistant, improves its basically efficiency because more photons get trapped in while reducing the temperature. And I asked them, it's like how the heck you can reduce temperature while increasing the photon flux? So they said like it reflects ultraviolet. So ultraviolet gets bounced back, photons gets trapped in. The coating is designed for 5 years of lifespan. So, and it works. It's in India, it's made, it works. I've already shared the video about it, and they are working on making it mass product. So that's the best I've seen, but 10-15 degrees Celsius drop is not happening. Few degrees maybe. So yeah, that's what we are looking at. I just want to protect my personal image. There is no privacy law in India to protect personal data, even if it's too personal. See, don't have personal data. Like here's the deal: you adapt to the situation that you have. So if you are in a scenario where government is gonna just like take whatever data you have, do not have those data. It's like it's one of those things. It's like if you are making a sex tape of yourself and you are embarrassed to show it, why do you have a sex tape? Why? Like here's the deal. Humanity was fine without it for thousands of years. You can be fine too, but it's like it's one of those things. Like you have to adapt to it. You're like, I have this data and all data. It's like then invest on a like actual what we call cyber security expert. They will charge a lot of money, but again, then they will give you the highest probability of surviving. Again, this still does not guarantee it. That's why like in very serious scenario where it's like even government cannot government cannot be allowed access on that, they have a button that physically booms it, like electrically fries it, or sometimes actual boom powder is used to boom the SSDs and boom the hard drive to make sure that under no circumstances anybody can take the data. And again, that's the only way you can make sure that nobody can get it. So you have to be realistic about your expectation. Like you can make something which is like mildly irritating. You can make something that is like okay, robust, but here's the deal: the more robust you make your system, the more they are likely to escalate. Whereas like let's say they took your hard drive, if they're expecting minor pawn and all that, they're like okay, it's like let's see the basic password. It's like yeah, just open it. It's like who cares? But if like it's super duper hyper encrypted, then it's like okay, what does this guy is hiding? Then it's like okay, let's get the hacker. Then it's like okay, this hacker cannot crack it because again you worked your ass off. Then they're gonna upgrade it to senior hacker, and then senior hackers like oh I can. Then like whole team will work on this. Like this hacking just has to be cracked. So let's be real about it. That's why you have to destroy the data, or don't have data that is like again adapt to this environment you have. The best thing is like store it in something obscure, like store it in CDs and DVDs and Blu-rays. Like don't they have it? You would be shocked. You would be shocked. And again, most of the time they are not looking for it. They're looking for portable hard drives, but they're not looking for CDs and DVDs and all that jazz. So you can have like a bunch of DVDs. Of course, hide them well, and that gives you the boast. Hey, my computer is there. Like it's what we call misdirection. So you can have a scenario where it's like again, do not have the optical drive in the computer. Hide it somewhere because if they see the drive, then they're like, So it's one of those things. Is there a reason room feels hotter than at night compared to the day? That's a very odd scenario, but the best I can guess is like you live in a scenario where your wall is very thick, so heat during basically from sunrise starts to make a way inside. It does not reaches until the basically what you call sundown, but it slowly, finally starts to reach inside during the night. So that's why it's like bury the hard drive. Yeah, realistically, that's the only solution you have. The hard drive has to be physically proofed. Other than there is no scenario. And again, you have to justify it to the court. It's like, why did you destroy it? It's like, so you have to be mindful, be realistic about the scenarios. That's why I said, like, that's why the people have job of cybersecurity. That's why obscurity is a thing. That's why like people have locked boxes. That's why like people still use random things where you can store all the data. Offshore floating wind turbine is also good. Yeah, okay, that's a very good. But again, I can't do that. That's good and all. That's awesome and all. But I can't do that. So yeah, so this is what it is. Oh yeah, look at it. It's like it's been 1 hour and I had like a surprisingly good audience and really interesting questions. So thank you for all of your guys' attention. I'm gonna be taking my leave. Hopefully, I'm gonna see you very soon with basically. I have already purchased M disk burner. Yeah, that's a clever thing to do. That's a really a clever thing to do. So anyway, see you guys next Saturday or 2-3 days from now when Starship launch happens. So see you then. Bye.